November 2nd, 1944, 3:47 p.m., somewhere over Czechoslovakia. Lieutenant Bruce Carr watches the oil pressure gauge drop to zero. Black smoke pours from the cowling of his P-51 Mustang. The Rolls-Royce Merlin engine screams, metal grinding against metal. 30 seconds ago, he was leading a strafing run against a German airfield. Now he's flying a coffin at 8,000 feet. An 88mm flak shell fragment punched through the engine and severed the oil line. Without oil, the engine will seize in 90 seconds. After that, the P-51 becomes a 12,000-pound brick. Carr has one option: bail out. He pulls back the canopy, rolls the dying Mustang inverted, and drops into the freezing Czech sky. The parachute deploys. Below him, enemy territory stretches to every horizon, 200 miles behind German lines. No radio, no weapon except A-45 pistol with 7 rounds, no food, no water. November in Central Europe. Temperatures dropping below freezing at night. American pilots shot down over occupied territory have a 23% chance of returning to Allied lines. The other 77% spend the war in Stalag Luft III or end up in unmarked graves. Bruce Carr is about to become the exception, because in 4 days, he won't just escape. He'll steal one of Germany's most advanced fighters and fly it home. Bruce Ward Carr, born January 28, 1924 in Union Springs, New York. Nothing remarkable about his childhood except one thing. At 15 years old, he learned to fly. A local crop duster named Earl let the farm kid take the controls of his biplane. By 16, Carr had more flight hours than most Army Air Corps cadets. September 1942. Carr enlists at 18. His instructor? The same man who taught him to fly 3 years earlier. Earl had joined up too. He sees Carr's 240 logged flight hours and recommends him for the accelerated program. By August 1943, Carr is a flight officer. By February 1944, he's in England flying P-51 Mustangs with the 354th Fighter Group. The P-51 Mustang. The finest propeller-driven fighter ever built. Range, 1,650 miles. Top speed, 437 miles per hour. 6 50 caliber machine guns with enough firepower to shred a German bomber in 2 seconds. Carr names his plane Angel's Playmate. He falls in love with the aircraft instantly. He has no idea that in 8 months, he'll be sitting in a very different cockpit. One with German labels and a swastika on the tail. By November 1944, Carr is an ace. 7.5 confirmed. Kills. He's aggressive, fearless. The kind of pilot who dives into formations of 30 German fighters without hesitation. His commanding officer once told him he was the most over-aggressive pilot he'd ever seen. Carr took it as a compliment. November 2nd, 1944. Carr hits the frozen Czechoslovakian ground hard. His ankle twists on impact, badly sprained. He gathers the silk parachute and buries it under leaves. The Germans will search for him. They always search. He has maybe 20 minutes before patrols arrive. Carr knows the airfield he was strafing is 5 miles north. He knows the Germans will expect him to move south toward Allied lines. He knows his survival depends on doing something unexpected. He heads north, toward the enemy, day 1. Carr moves through the forest at night. His flight suit provides minimal warmth. His ankle throbs with every step. He hasn't eaten in 18 hours. Day 2. He finds a stream and drinks. The water numbs his throat. He spots a German patrol 200 yards away and lies motionless in a ditch for 2 hours while they pass. Day 3. The hunger becomes unbearable. Carr is burning 4,000 calories a day just staying warm. He's consumed 0. His body begins eating itself. He makes a decision. Tomorrow he'll surrender. Stalag Luft III beats starving to death in a Czech forest. Day 4. Late afternoon. Carr reaches the edge of the German airfield. He's positioned in a tree line overlooking the eastern perimeter. Through the branches he can see hangars, fuel trucks, aircraft. mostly FW-190 seconds, a few BF-109 seconds. He plans to wait until morning, then walk to the main gate with his hands up. But as darkness falls, Carr notices something. In a revetment 80 yards from his position, a Focke-Wulf FW-190 sits under camouflage netting. 2 German mechanics are working on it under portable lights. Carr watches. They check the fuel. Full tanks. They run up the engine. The BMW radio roars to life. They cycle the propeller, check the magnetos, run through a complete pre-flight. Then they shut it down, cover the cockpit, and walk back to the hangars. The FW-190 is ready to fly. Carr's brain starts calculating. He's never flown a German aircraft. He doesn't speak German. He has no idea where the controls are or how the engine starts. But he knows how to fly. He's logged over 500 combat hours. Every aircraft has a throttle, a stick, and rudder pedals. The physics don't change because the labels are in German. And he's looking at a fully fueled fighter with no guard. The surrender plan evaporates. Carr waits until 3 a.m. The airfield is quiet. Skeleton crew on night watch. No activity near the revetment. He moves. 80 yards of open ground, no cover. If anyone looks, he's dead. He covers the distance in 40 seconds, his twisted ankle screaming with every step. The Focke-Wulf FW-190. Germany's premier fighter. First deployed in 1941, it outclassed the Spitfire so thoroughly the British panicked. German pilots called it Würger, the butcher bird. Allied pilots called it trouble. Standard armament, 2 13mm machine guns and 4 20mm cannons. Maximum speed 408 miles per hour. A deadly machine in experienced hands. Carr is not experienced. He's never seen the inside of one. Everything he knows about this aircraft comes from gun camera footage of them exploding. He climbs onto the wing. The canopy is unlocked. He slides it back and drops into the cockpit. First thing he notices, he can't read anything. Every label, every gauge, every switch is in German. The instrument panel is incomprehensible Gothic script. Second thing, the cockpit is smaller than the P-51's. His knees press against the instrument panel. Carr has approximately 4 hours until sunrise. He uses every minute. He traces wiring, identifies gauges by position, airspeed top left, altimeter center, engine instruments right side. He finds the fuel selector, magneto switches, propeller control. The starter is critical. On the right side, he finds a T-shaped handle with German text. The word looks vaguely like starter. He pulls it. A mechanical whine fills the cockpit. An inertia starter winding up like a toy. He lets it spin for 20 seconds. Then he engages it. The BMW 801 coughs, catches, roars to life. 1,700 horsepower at idle sounds like thunder. Every German on the airfield will hear it. Carr has seconds. He shoves the throttle forward. The FW-190 lurches. The tail comes up. This aircraft is nose-heavy, eager to fly. Through the pre-dawn darkness, he aims between 2 hangars. Ground crew emerge, shouting, pointing. 60 miles per hour. 70. The hangars rush toward him. At 90 miles per hour, Carr pulls back on the stick. The FW-190 leaps into the air, clearing the hangar roofs by inches. He's airborne in a stolen German fighter 200 miles behind enemy lines. Now comes the hard part. Landing gear. He finds a lever, pulls it. The gear retracts. The aircraft accelerates. Compass. He orients west-southwest, toward France, toward Allied lines. He drops to treetop level, 50 feet above the ground, 280 miles per hour. The Czech forest becomes a green blur beneath his wings. At this altitude, he's invisible to radar. Too low for flak, too fast for ground troops to target. For 45 minutes, Carr flies west. The sun rises behind him. The terrain changes from forest to farmland to the scarred battlefields of eastern France. He crosses the front lines. That's when his problems really begin. Allied anti-aircraft gunners see a German FW-190 flying low toward Allied positions. They open fire. 50 caliber tracers arc toward Carr from every direction. He's taking fire from his own side. He has no radio, no way to signal he's friendly. The FW-190 still carries German markings, black crosses on the wings, swastika on the tail. Carr does the only thing he can, fly lower and faster. He drops to 20 feet, hedge hopping. The propeller wash kicks up dust from the roads. French civilians dive into ditches. American soldiers fire rifles at him. Every gun in France is shooting at Bruce Carr. The FW-190 takes hits. He can hear the impacts, feel the shudders. But German engineering holds. The aircraft keeps flying. Ahead, he recognizes the airfield, a -66 or Camp France, home of the 354th Fighter Group. He lines up for approach. That's when he discovers the final problem. The landing gear won't come down. Carr pulls the lever. Nothing. He pumps it. Nothing. He looks for a backup system, an emergency release. The FW-190's landing gear operates on hydraulic pressure. There's a selector valve. Carr doesn't know this. He doesn't know he's been pulling the wrong handle. Below, the 354th's anti-aircraft crews are loading their 40mm Bofors guns. A German fighter is circling their field. They're preparing to blow him out of the sky. Carr makes a decision, belly landing. He lines up with the grass beside the main runway, lowers the flaps and cuts the throttle. The FW-190 sinks. 100 feet, 50 feet, 20 feet. The aircraft hits the grass at 90 miles per hour, slides for 300 yards, throws up a rooster tail of mud and debris and grinds to a stop. Carr is alive. Within seconds, the FW-190 is surrounded. Military police, rifles raised, screaming at the pilot to get out. They're expecting a German. The canopy slides back. A mud-splattered American in a torn flight suit climbs onto the wing. "I'm Captain Carr of this goddamn squadron." Nobody believes him. He's been missing for 4 days. He's supposed to be dead or captured. And he just belly-landed a German fighter on their airfield. The MPs keep their rifles trained until a staff car arrives. Colonel George Bickle, commanding officer, steps out and looks at the scene. The destroyed FW-190, the mud-covered pilot, the bewildered MPs. "Where in the hell have you been?" Bickle says. "And what have you been doing now?" The story spreads through the Army Air Forces like wildfire. The pilot who stole a German plane, the only American in the European theater to take off in a P-51 and return in an FW-190. But Carr's war isn't over. 5 months later, April 2, 1945, near Schweinfurt, Germany, First Lieutenant Carr is leading 4 P-51s on reconnaissance. At 15,000 feet, he spots movement above. German fighters. He does a quick count. 60 aircraft. Maybe more. Bf-10-9s and FW-19OH mixed, the largest concentration he's ever seen. He has 4 P-51s. Standard tactics, immediate evasion. 4 against 60 is suicide. Every manual says disengage and report. Get out alive. Bruce Carr has never been particularly interested in what the manuals say. He keys his radio. Engaging. The 4 Mustangs climb into the German formation. What happens next is extraordinary. Carr slips into the back of the formation, positions behind a Bf-109 and fires. The German never sees him. The 109 explodes. Carr shifts targets, an FW-190. 3 seconds of 50 caliber fire. The Focke-Wulf rolls inverted and plummets. In 3 minutes, Bruce Carr shoots down 5 German aircraft. His wingmen account for 10 more. 4 American pilots. 15 German aircraft destroyed. 0 American losses. Bruce Carr becomes the last ace in a day in the European theater of World War II. No American pilot will match the feat before Germany surrenders. By war's end, he's flown 172 combat missions. 14 to 15 confirmed kills. He's 21 years old. The war ends. Carr stays in uniform. Korea. 57 missions in F-86 Sabres, then Vietnam. 286 missions in F-100 Super Sabres. 3 wars. 3 aircraft generations. 515 combat missions total. He retires in 1973. April 25, 1998. St. Cloud, Florida. Bruce Ward Carr dies of prostate cancer at 74. They bury him at Arlington National Cemetery. Section 64, grave 6,922. The headstone lists his rank, his decorations, his wars: Distinguished Service Cross, Silver Star, Legion of Merit, Distinguished Flying Cross, Air Medal, Purple Heart. It doesn't mention the Focke-Wulf. It doesn't mention the 4 days in the Czech forest. It doesn't mention the belly landing with MPs pointing rifles at his face. Some stories don't fit on headstones. Here's what matters. In November 1944, an American pilot found himself alone, unarmed, stranded 200 miles behind enemy lines. The rational choice was surrender. The safe choice was giving up. Bruce Carr chose differently. He looked at a German fighter covered in unfamiliar instruments and saw not an obstacle, but an opportunity. He climbed into a cockpit he'd never seen, started an engine he'd never operated, and flew an aircraft he'd never touched. Not because he was reckless, because he refused to accept that his options were limited to the ones that seemed possible. The Bruce Carr story isn't about the stolen fighter or the 15 kills or the 3 wars. The story is simpler than that. The story is a pilot who looked at impossible odds and asked one question: what else can I do?